Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're taking a journey that literally starts in a totally mundane grocery store aisle and somehow ends up deep inside human cellular biology. I mean, have you ever picked up just a normal, everyday household item and suddenly realized you're staring at a highly specific medical warning? It's one of those wild, unexpected moments where everyday life just crashes right into complex science. Today, we're going to unravel this hidden mystery that's probably lurking right inside your own closet. It's all about the absolutely remarkable connection between standard moth repellents and something called G6PD. Now, our guide for this little exploration is Ang, who runs a really neat blog called Notes on Home Improvement. In a recent post, Ang writes this: "Dear Interweb, during my grocery runs, I stumbled upon a product that caught my attention." You know, Ang's documentation of this completely ordinary errand sets the absolute perfect foundation for what we're about to dive into. We have all been there, right? Pushing a cart down the aisle on total autopilot when suddenly something completely out of place breaks your routine and just sparks this moment of genuine scientific curiosity. So what exactly was this big grocery store discovery? Well, while browsing the shelves, Ang spotted a specialized moth repellent bag. Now, okay, a moth repellent on its own isn't exactly earth-shattering news, but it wasn't the product itself that stopped Ang in their tracks. It was the highly technical medical wording printed right there on the packaging of a simple, everyday closet freshener. Seriously, why on earth would a product designed to keep bugs away from your winter coats carry a label referencing a highly specific human enzyme deficiency? It's like a giant puzzle bridging the gap between home goods and homology. Okay, let's dive into this. Because before we even get to the whole medical mystery, Anne brings up this wonderfully amusing, totally practical question about the product itself. Ang asks, do we even have large-scale moths or other insect infestations that can cause damage to our fabric in such a tropical country? It is a fantastic point. We so often buy these household products purely out of habit or, just because it's what our parents did, without even stopping to question if the environmental threat actually exists in our specific climate. But look, regardless of whether the moths are a real threat or just an old wives' tale in the tropics, the chemical reality of this repellent is very real and very potent. Section 1. Understanding G6PD deficiency. Let's break down this intimidating acronym, shall we? G6PD stands for glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. Try saying that 3 times fast. Essentially, this is an absolutely crucial enzyme naturally found in your body. Its primary job is to help your red blood cells function normally and shield them from harmful oxidative stress. Without an adequate supply of this enzyme, our red blood cells are basically left totally vulnerable to certain environmental triggers that can cause extensive, severe cellular damage. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what goes wrong when someone has a deficiency. Think of it like a biological chain reaction. When a person's body doesn't produce enough of that G6PD enzyme, the red blood cells just completely lose their vital protection. Left totally vulnerable, these unprotected cells start to break down rapidly when they're exposed to certain triggers. And this rapid breakdown leads to a really serious medical condition known as hemolytic-anemia. It causes severe fatigue, jaundice, and requires immediate medical attention. Section 2, the naphthalene connection. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast between the past and the present of household pest control. On one side, we have your traditional mothballs. Those pungent, white, round tablets that seem to exist in literally every grandparent's closet. The active chemical in those traditional mothballs is a substance called naphthalene. But on the other side, we have modern G6PD safe products which use absolutely zero naphthalene materials. And here is the absolutely crucial link. Naphthalene is exactly one of those environmental triggers that causes unprotected red blood cells to break down in someone with G6PD deficiency. Literally just breathing in the fumes from a traditional mothball closet can trigger a severe episode of hemolytic-anemia for someone missing that vital enzyme. No way, right? Which brings us right back to Ang's discovery in the grocery store. When you see a label on a product proudly declaring that it's G6PD deficiency safe, it is not just some clever marketing jargon. It is an explicit, life-saving medical guarantee. It means the manufacturer is assuring you, the consumer, that there is zero naphthalene used in the product. By completely removing that specific chemical trigger, they've made a household item safe for people who lack that vital cellular protection we just talked about. It's honestly an incredible example of how public health awareness can actually shape the manufacturing of everyday stuff. Ang wraps up the blog post with an incredibly simple sign-off. Isn't this rather fascinating? And I gotta say, I completely agree. What started as just this incredibly mundane errand, looking for something to keep the bugs away, unlocked this rich story about hematology, chemical engineering, and consumer safety. It really makes you pause and look at the world around you a little differently. So, what does this all mean for us? Well, what other hidden scientific stories or critical medical warnings are lurking right there on the labels of the everyday household items sitting in your cupboards right now? The next time you're at the grocery store, I highly encourage you to take a closer look at the fine print. You never know what complex mysteries you might unravel.